In Giza we find the king's chamber, a remarkable display of ancient craftsmanship that still amazes and confuses us. The chamber is hidden inside this huge monument and shows how smart the Egyptians were at building. It was made with huge granite blocks that make us question what we think we know about ancient engineering. It's an experience in and of itself to walk through the Grand Gallery to get to this famous spot. This corridor is an impressive 47 meters long and 8.6 meters high. It shows how skilled the people who built it were. Egyptologists have thought about the idea that these huge blocks were moved into place on wet sand, but it makes even less sense when you think about how high up the chamber is in the pyramid. The walls of the king's chamber are made of red granite that came from Aswan, which is about 800 kilometers away. This shows how advanced technology and engineering were at the time. The exact sizes of the rooms are thought to have symbolic meanings, possibly having to do with royal or celestial principles. It reminds us of how much we might miss if we only look for copies of the world we already know. A red granite sarcophagus, thought to be for Pharaoh Khufu, sits in the middle of this room. Still, it's still empty, and no bodies have ever been found there, which adds to the chamber's mysterious air. With its obvious signs of wear and damage, the sarcophagus hints at the stories that haven't been told yet from the ancient past. Given its size and placement in the chamber, it's likely that it was put there during the early stages of construction, showing how well the Egyptians planned. The huge weight of the pyramid is spread out over a complex network of relieving chambers above it. This shows how well the builders understood structural engineering. Additionally, two thin shafts connect the chamber to the outside of the pyramid. These were originally thought to be for airflow, but now it is thought that they may be aligned with celestial bodies, adding another layer to the pyramid's design that represents the pharaoh's journey in the afterlife. The building of the Grand Gallery, which leads to the king's chamber, is a marvel of ancient engineering. Each layer of stone sticks out a little bit further than the one below it, in a process known as corbelling, which created its narrowing walls. This shows how skilled the Egyptians were at building. It was planned that the walls would be made of limestone and the ceiling would be made of denser stones so that the structure could hold the weight above it. This long corridor, which was more than just a path, may have been an important part of royal or funeral ceremonies, pointing to a deeper ceremonial purpose. The big step at the end of it and other parts of its design suggest that it was a multi-purpose space that was important to the building process or the pharaoh's rites of passage. The nearby Queen's Chamber, despite its name, is still a mystery. It was probably not meant to be a graveyard. There are no burial artifacts found at the site, and it has some unusual features that make people wonder what it was really used for. The Great Pyramid's ancient stones still hold many mysteries. What a big story we are about to explore today, right? If you like to know about these curious facts, don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button. These digs show us not only the remains of a long-ago time, but also a way to find long-lost technologies and learn more about the ancient Egyptians' deep legacy. Today, as we go deeper into the mysterious Great Pyramid, we find the Queen's Chamber, which is separate from the King's Chamber above, but still inside. Imagine walking down a hallway and coming out of the grandeur of the Grand Gallery to find this mysterious room. Its large size is topped with a pointed roof that pokes up, giving the room a solemn and mysterious air. A huge niche, 4.6 meters high, is carved into the eastern wall of the chamber, making it stand out. People who think about what it's for are curious and argue about it. Was it made for a statue that would play a sacred or ceremonial role? Or does it have deeper meanings that have to do with the pharaoh's journey in the afterlife? There are many ideas about what the chamber was used for, such as that it was a place for healing rituals, a record of ancient cosmological beliefs, or an important part of the pyramid structure that kept it stable. New technologies like infrared thermography and muon radiography have taken away layers, revealing what's behind the chamber's old walls and revealing secrets about its construction that have not yet been fully revealed. We go beyond the Queen's domain and explore the pyramid's complex air shafts and the mysterious chamber below the ground, which are both interesting and important. The air shafts, which are thin passages carved into the stone, go up into the sky and line up with celestial bodies that were very important to the Egyptians. These shafts, which engineer Wayman Dixon discovered in the late 1800s, defy what we believe to be true about them. They may have been used for more than just ventilation, possibly connecting the pharaoh's world with the divine universe. The underground chamber is very different. It is rough and unfinished, and it tells stories of a purpose that was meant to be fulfilled but wasn't. Was it the first tomb, a representation of the underworld, or a useful part of building the pyramid? The chamber isn't finished yet, which leads to more questions and speculation about what the builders of long ago were trying to do. The innovative use of muon radiography to find the big void, a huge empty space in the shadows of the pyramid, has sparked new discussions and excitement about how and why the pyramid was built. This empty space above the Grand Gallery suggests a significant but enigmatic part of the pyramid's design. Its purpose has been lost to time. The Scan Pyramids project is still working to figure out the mysteries of the Great Pyramid. Every new discovery, like how grand the Grand Gallery is, or how deep the Osiris Shaft goes, helps us learn more about this ancient marvel. Explorers today have been looking closely at the Osiris Shaft, and it has started to reveal its secrets. This shows how religiously and technically advanced the Egyptians were. When we think about these ancient wonders, we are reminded of how clever Egypt was at building things and how many mysteries are still hidden inside these stone giants. To explore the Osiris Shaft, big problems had to be solved, like pumping out the water that had filled the lower levels, especially the submerged third level. People were even more worried when water levels started to rise near the Sphinx, making people think that this ancient monument might be damaged. Using modern tools to clear the water was a huge job that made it possible to explore the shaft's hidden depths and learn about its architectural, ritualistic, and historical secrets. Each of the 3 levels has its own specific purpose. A big stone sarcophagus that is partially submerged at its deepest point makes me think of the Egyptian underworld. It's like a physical representation of the afterlife, deep below the Giza plateau. There is a mystery on the 2nd level, which has 6 empty graves. Were these spaces robbed or left empty on purpose? This level doesn't have any inscriptions that give clear historical context, but it is full of artifacts like pottery shards and stone vessel fragments that suggest the Osiris Shaft was made during the New Kingdom and give us a look at the burial practices and rituals of that time. The discovery of mummified bodies in the shaft's smaller chambers puts us in direct contact with the people who lived in ancient Egypt and gives us valuable information about their daily lives, diets, and social structures. Osiris was the Egyptian god of the afterlife, death, and rebirth, and the shaft has a lot to do with his stories. Egyptian mythology is built around this god's story of betrayal, death, and rebirth. The idea that the shaft was used for initiation rites where people died and came back to life in a way that was similar to Osiris's journey gives it more spiritual meaning. Putting the shaft in line with heavenly bodies adds to the idea that it is a link between the human world and the divine. With its mix of useful design and mysterious meanings, the Osiris Shaft shows how creative the ancient Egyptians were with architecture and how deeply they believed in spirituality. It's a real link to the past, giving you a direct link to the myths and rituals that shaped one of the most interesting civilizations based on historical events. Graham Hancock's view on the Osiris Shaft and the bigger picture of ancient society suggests that there may have been a lost, advanced society. Hancock says that this civilization may have existed before recorded history and had much more advanced knowledge of astronomy and architecture than our ancestors. With its complicated structure and possible astronomical alignments, the Osiris Shaft could be a relic from this advanced civilization, indicating that it was around for a lot longer and knew a lot more than we think. Hancock's theories include the astronomical meanings of old buildings. He suggests that the shaft's orientation may have something to do with the story of Osiris's death and rebirth. At the heart of Hancock's theory is the idea of a global disaster, specifically comet impacts during the Younger Dryas period, that could have wiped out this advanced civilization. The water in the Osiris Shaft could be a metaphor for these ancient floods, which Hancock thinks were similar to the disasters that happened in the early history of humans. Geologist Robert M. Schoch looked at the erosion patterns on the Great Sphinx of Giza and found that they support these ideas even more. Schock's observations of water-caused erosion suggest that the Sphinx may have been built during a much wetter time in Egypt's history, which may be the same time period as Hancock's proposed lost civilization. His support for Schock's findings shows that he shares a common skepticism about traditional archaeological timelines. Instead, he proposes a history characterized by advanced knowledge, heavenly alignments, and terrible events that altered the course of human civilization. In this way, the Osiris Shaft isn't just an interesting piece of archaeology, it's a doorway to a time when people knew a lot about the universe and were connected to it. Hancock's ideas make us think about the story of human history again, to go beyond the official records and imagine that there was a very advanced civilization that lived a long time ago and left behind monuments and myths. Graham Hancock is interested in old buildings like the pyramids in Egypt, Stonehenge, and the megalithic sites in South America because he thinks they were built by a lost, advanced civilization. He says that the accuracy and complexity of these monuments' architecture suggests that the people who built them knew a lot more about technology and knowledge than most people think about ancient cultures. Hancock is amazed by how precisely the stones were cut at Pumapunku in Bolivia, which makes him think that very advanced tools were used. Putting together huge stone blocks that fit together very precisely and often without mortar makes me wonder about the engineering methods used. In addition to the way these structures are built, Hancock admires the mathematical and geometrical knowledge they show. For example, the Great Pyramid of Khufu's precise measurements of angles show that the builders knew a lot about these subjects. He applies this point of view to the pyramids in Mesoamerica, pointing out how complicated their designs are and how well they planned their cities. Hancock's ideas go against what most people think we know about ancient history. They say that these civilizations were much smarter than we thought when it came to building, engineering, and math. Hancock also looks into how these structures fit together in terms of astronomy, and says that they show a deep understanding of how the stars move. As proof of this ancient knowledge, he says that the Sphinx was aligned with the constellation Leo during the age of Leo, and the Giza pyramids were aligned with Orion's belt. Edgar Cayce and Hancock both talked about the idea of a hall of records, which is like a library of information from a long-lost civilization. Hancock's ideas about an advanced prehistoric civilization fit with Cayce's clairvoyant visions of a hall under the Sphinx that supposedly holds records from Atlantis. Hancock thinks that finding this hall could support his idea that there was a sophisticated society that existed before traditional historical timelines. His works basically asks us to think again about old buildings and stories, saying that they might be the remains of a long-lost, highly advanced civilization that knew a lot about astronomy and architecture. From this point of view, we should look deeper into human history and think about the lost technologies and cosmic knowledge that are written in the stone monuments of our ancestors. The discovery of many ancient shipwrecks in Thonis-Heracleion not only shows how busy the city was with shipping, but it also gives us a look into the past and shows how good people were at building ships back then. These well-preserved ships, ranging from big cargo ships to smaller boats, show the wide range of maritime activities that took place in this old port. They show how the city's trade network was very extensive. The huge number of anchors that were found shows how big the port's activities are and how advanced its technology is. The huge, carefully made statues that were found show the religious and political life of the city, while the gold coins that were found show how prosperous Thonis-Heracleion was and how it traded with other places. With its carefully planned canals and grand buildings, this underwater city shows how advanced urban planning has become and how culturally rich the people who lived there were. When we look at Cleopatra's palace in Alexandria, we find a rich story of political power and cultural wealth. The palace's grandeur and use of Egyptian and Hellenistic architectural styles show how history and culture mixed during Cleopatra's rule. Things found in the palace, like statues and pieces of architecture, show how art and society worked during the Ptolemaic period. Looking into Randall Carlson's ideas, we come across the idea of a very advanced ancient civilization that may have existed before any known historical eras. His research on megalithic structures around the world shows that he knows a lot about astronomy and engineering, which goes against most historical timelines. The pyramids and Stonehenge are examples of very well-built, ancient structures that show that the people who made them had a deep understanding of the sky and advanced building skills. Carlson's story combines amazing stonework from the past with ideas about huge disasters like the Younger Dryas impact, suggesting that these disasters might have erased evidence of these advanced societies. His research into the past tries to find the lost skills and knowledge of these ancient civilizations, which suggests that advanced technologies and knowledge of the stars were shared around the world. When you look at ancient buildings through these theories, they are no longer just amazing works of architecture. They become remnants of a lost world, full of clues about a society that had a deep understanding of both the universe and the physical world. This point of view makes us think again about what we think we know about history, what our ancestors were able to do, and how much they knew. Randall Carlson's research into ancient civilizations includes the idea that advanced societies may have existed a long time before most historical timelines. He thinks that the pyramids of Giza and Stonehenge, along with other megalithic structures found around the world, are the remains of these advanced civilizations. With their astronomical alignments and high-tech construction, these buildings show that the people who built them knew a lot about the stars and how they work. Carlson's work suggests that there is a global or shared source of knowledge, which could mean that there was a civilization that was very good at astronomy and engineering. He believes that terrible occurrences like comet impacts, which could have drastically altered the climate and ended these societies, were to blame for the loss of this advanced knowledge. He says that knowledge didn't go away completely, though. He says that it lived on in myths, legends, and religious texts, which he sees as records of events and knowledge from the past. Some people think that the flood myths are allegories for real events in history, like huge floods after glaciers melted. This suggests that knowledge from these advanced civilizations was passed down through symbols. Carlson's research into the astronomical alignments of megalithic structures like the temples of Malta shows how well the builders of those times knew how the stars moved and how they could line up structures with specific astronomical events to mark the changing of the seasons with great accuracy. With their precise solar alignments and complicated architectural designs, these temples show that the people who built them had a lot of advanced knowledge and skills. In the same way, the pyramids of Giza and their alignment with Orion's belt show a deep knowledge of astronomical patterns. This suggests that they were built to look like the heavens on purpose, possibly as a way for the pharaoh's soul to get to the afterlife. With its solstice alignment, Stonehenge shows that its builders knew a lot about astronomy and how to use that knowledge to build huge, impressive structures. Carlson's ideas go against what most people think we know about ancient history. He says that these huge stone structures are not only amazing works of architecture, but also stores of lost knowledge and wisdom from a time when people lived in very advanced societies. By studying old buildings and how they were aligned with the stars, we can see that people had a deep understanding of how the heavens work. This means that these buildings were more than just amazing works of architecture. They were also complex observatories that could see what was happening in space. The Great Pyramid of Giza, Stonehenge, and the ancient city of Teotihuacan were built so precisely that they line up with certain celestial events, which shows that the builders knew a lot about the stars. The Great Pyramid, which is aligned with the cardinal points and mirrors Earth's dimensions, and Stonehenge, which is aligned with the solstices, show that people in the past had a deep understanding of how the Earth moved and how the stars moved. Teotihuacan's design, which is based on celestial bodies, shows that the people there knew a lot about the stars. These worldwide events point to a shared or passed down knowledge of astronomy that goes beyond cultural and regional differences. Randall Carlson's sacred number theory brings together mythology, geology, and ancient wisdom in a fascinating way. It suggests that the stories about floods are based on records of terrible geological events. These myths are prevalent across many different cultures, and geological evidence of massive floods and climate change supports them. This suggests that these stories have historical roots in real-life events that changed the way early human societies worked. This theory casts doubt on conventional historical timelines and demonstrates the connection between natural and celestial events and human history.